Hello, my name is John, and I'm the principal and proprietor of Acumis. I partner with executives of mid-market companies to align purpose, strategy, and operations. As I reach the 5-year mark of my Acumis journey, this feels like a good time for a reintroduction. But this is about you and your company. You are a mid-market CEO or executive, an entrepreneur heading in that direction, an investor or a board member enabling companies of that size, or an educator or administrator grooming these critical roles. After living, studying, and working across 3 continents and searching for meaning in life, I found one really cool concept that every cell in my body is passionate about: the concept of a company and what makes one optimal. Honestly, I don't get excited or disappointed about specific industries. I'm equally psyched about companies that create software, ship things, build robots, cut sheet metal, make food, or provide services. But I get really pumped working on what makes a specific company its best version. Based on 2 decades of exploration, I arrived at my method to help executives architect great companies: the Spiral Stairway. For a few minutes, please let go of other frameworks and open your mind to what is possible if we build from the themes I share. Listen for important concepts you see on the screen. I hope this allows you to start thinking about companies in a new way and choose to dig deeper. Based on live reactions I typically get when I have this conversation, I know these themes will strike a chord with you. Let's start with why, the market problem. Typically, when I ask someone the first time how their company is doing, I get a similar answer. We are doing well, there's just this one thing. Usually that one thing is a common theme I hear across companies, read on social channels, or even see in newspapers. We can't find enough people to hire. Employee engagement is low, maybe market is soft. Thinking this way is like being on a racing team and saying, our car and drivers are perfect, it's just raining. Sure, but it's raining for everyone. But someone is going to win that race and that season. What makes motorsport interesting is each team's car design and driver skill compared to other teams. Environmental factors are exactly that. And it gives the audience some extra entertainment, but they don't determine outcomes in the grand scheme of things. I don't find it helpful to talk about a company with what I call Venus viewing mentality, looking at a shroud of thick clouds without access to reality on the ground. We can divide the problem into 2 parts. First, keep time, scale, and environment constant and take a cross-sectional view of a company. In other words, let's assume that the world stands still for us. Imagine cutting open a company like a fruit. Every company in the world will reveal incongruences that directly correlate with obvious and subtle issues the companies face. If you only take one concept away, please let that be the concept of incongruence. Incongruences are analogous to friction. They always exist. It's only a question of how much, not if. Significant incongruences within a company imply significant gaps in value creation for stakeholders, capital inefficiency, and unsustainability of outcomes. On the flip side, the lower the incongruence, the higher a company's net positive value creation, capital efficiency, and sustainability of outcomes. So, what is incongruence? Congruence means harmony. Here, harmony between a company's fundamental components. Incongruence is the lack of harmony between the fundamental components of a company. Everything we experience as a gap in a company stems from an underlying incongruence. I represent the fundamental components of a company as a 3-level pyramid. Let's touch on them. At the top level, we have purpose. Purpose articulates how a company aligns the incentives of stakeholders. A company has 5 stakeholder groups, and they are: 1. Customers, the reason for a company to exist. 2. Investors, which includes all owners, public, private, debt holders. 3. Employees, which includes the CEO and executives. They are employees too. 4. Partners, who help our company create value. And 5. Society, which might feel fluffy, but it's not. Current or future regulations, public perceptions, and even a potential lawsuit down the years all represent society. Each group's incentives include 2 fundamental components: quality and quantity of value expected by each stakeholder group, and time horizon. When and how long do they expect that value? The purpose articulates how a company intends to balance the value expected by all stakeholder groups over an agreed upon time horizon. Purpose is tangible and, most importantly, unabashedly honest. It's not an altruistic or brand building statement. So please don't mix purpose with mission or vision. Mission and vision are helpful ways to communicate fundamental components to an external audience. So that's the purpose. It aligns value expectations and time horizon for all stakeholder groups, and it sits at the top of our pyramid. The second level of the pyramid is strategy. Every company has a single, comprehensive, and cohesive strategy that dovetails the 3 simple and powerful fundamental questions: who to serve, what to offer, and how to deliver. The harmony of these 3 components can range from highly congruent, where the company's strategy is effective, to a strategy that is not practical on the other end. Now, I mentioned opening our minds in the beginning. So brace yourself. What if I tell you there's no sales strategy, marketing strategy, or product strategy? There's only one company, and it has one cohesive strategy. I used to say I do go-to-market strategy work. One of my job titles included supply chain strategy. I was proud of the work I did, but I changed my mind after running into solid, immovable walls when it came to achieving the real-world impact that aligns with a company's purpose. Role and team-specific processes and plans are all important, but if those views don't come together to form one company strategy, the company will live with many incongruences. The third level of the pyramid is operations. Strategy lives on paper. It doesn't have arms and legs. So strategy must translate into the real world, and that real world is the company's operations. Real-world operations have 4 comprehensive components. 1. Management approach. 2. Productized offering. 3. Processes. And 4. Use of data analysis and reporting. That's it. However we slice everything else in a company, all operations fall into these 4 buckets. If we were having this conversation in person, you would likely interrupt me with, "Wait a minute. Let's say you ask me, what about technology?" Well, whether my arm moves an object from point A to point B or a robotic arm does the same, it's part of the company's process. All technology sits as a subset of process. This is an example of how we can get past the mental constraints we have set for ourselves that are remnants of the past. We simply have to embrace a radical rethink of what a company really is. As humans, we are inclined to think about our immediate circumstances: sales, marketing, product, HR. They're all walls we create to group employees inside a company, and we can easily redraw those boundaries without changing the company's fundamentals. So I propose embracing a one company mindset. To summarize, a company is a symbiotic organism built from these fundamental components under the three-level purpose, strategy, operations pyramid. It's far more straightforward than we often make it out to be. I can explain M&A and ownership structures using the same simple model, but that's for a different conversation. Every bit of disharmony between these components get amplified and hurts aspects far and wide across our company, which is why symptom solving doesn't work. Every symptom we face in a company can be traced back to incongruences between fundamental components I described. Incongruence, when world stands still, is the first part of the market problem that we are all trying to address as we examine companies. If we minimize incongruences to create a sustainably capital efficient and optimally value creating entity, outcomes such as revenue growth, profitability, customer satisfaction, investor confidence, employee morale, all will follow. The alternative is to play whack-a-mole with symptoms. Sadly, I have never seen symptom solving work in 20 years, despite the weight of investment. What is the second part of the market problem? Let's say we worked hard to harmonize the fundamental components I covered to run an efficient and optimally value-creating entity. What happens when time, scale, and environment changes? Why do cancer diagnoses correlate very strongly with age? Mutations are more likely to appear in our cells over time. Incongruence is just like a mutation leading to a cancer cell. The world is never standing still for anyone. Time, scale, and environment always demand changes to all three levels of our fundamentals pyramid. So, our decisions and actions around what good looks like for each component and how we dovetail these components also need to evolve over time with scale and with changes in our ecosystem. Otherwise, incongruences will pop up just like mutations in our cells. Without proactively evolving our company fundamentals, we will see misalignments reappear just as quickly as we address the ones identified in part 1, where we froze time. If all our investment and problem-solving energy goes into catching up to preventable disharmony, the company's forward momentum will stall. So to wrap our problem statement, I don't believe any company's biggest enemy is a competitor or the economy. Those are typically easier to focus on because we can see them. Incongruences between fundamental components hurt most companies far more than any competitor or economic conditions can. So, what is our solution? Our goal is to release the best version of our company because that's all we can control. That's all we are legally allowed to do. Our design of fundamental components under purpose, strategy, and operations considers the market, our competition, and our internal strengths. After all that, if a competitor dominates the market problem we are trying to address, maybe they deserve to win. The simple way to create the optimized version of our company and keep doing it is to limit incongruence. First, we must solve part 1 of the problem. We must look under the couch cushions to find, understand, and solve incongruences across the company today. We want to produce the optimal outcomes we are capable of by harmonizing our fundamental components in a manner that fits the people in our 5 stakeholder groups, which will be different from one company to another. We will only have the mind share to address the future if we can survive and thrive in the present. Second, we must prepare for the shifting sands of time, scale, and environment without planning for perpetual reactiveness. Reactivity becomes increasingly difficult over time and eventually impossible. We must build a system that can periodically and proactively evolve the company to prepare us for the world around us, and also intentionally prevent us from letting our day-to-day decisions and actions slide us back to disharmony. After years of working on symptoms and offering point solutions company after company, I arrived at putting it all together into a single, comprehensive methodology because I learned that we need to achieve both. My methodology is called the Spiral Stairway. If our core incentive is to create a great company, which I call a holistic company, the Spiral Stairway gives you the following. It dovetails each of the fundamental components I shared. It includes pitfalls to avoid. It provides the key principles of what good looks like for each component. It gives you visual frameworks to apply the principles in practice. It has thoughtful questions to consider while implementing each principle. And it has simple measurements that truly assess reality and progress. The interlocking of underlying principles of each fundamental component addresses the core market problem: incongruences. So why should you embrace this method? First, you are likely trying to piece together different methods and frameworks on different topics from different people, and finding out that they just don't all fit together and give you a complete picture. I tried that for 15 years and came up short. Second, I have repeatedly used the words comprehensive and cohesive because the method is comprehensive and cohesive. It literally covers your entire company, and every component in the method dovetails with each other. The components are radically simple and original, and they help you rethink the entire company. Most of us prefer all-in-one solutions like Microsoft 365 or Google Suite, rather than disconnected tools that leave us with compatibility and porting issues. This is similar. You might be thinking, how can one methodology solve all the problems around a company? See, that was my real lesson from exploring dozens of companies. Most of the conversations we get caught up in are unnecessary complexities and distractions that are not aligned with our core incentive here: architecting great companies. We can remove a lot of the clutter that distracts us because they don't contribute to the core incentive of architecting great companies. Interlocking the entire company from top to bottom, left to right, and over time is not often a focus because it is easy to get pulled into distracting noise around us. As individuals, it's easier for us to focus on our teams and projects because it feels overwhelming to think about the whole. But someone must. A Rubik's Cube has a lot to teach us. Solving for a company is like solving a Rubik's Cube. We must think about all the colors, play a multi-move game, and be able to see how each move affects all the colors over time. That's the game we're playing when we think about a whole company. So, how do we start taking action? I published the Spiral Stairway because I wholeheartedly believe in the power of amazing companies. The more of them we have, the better off we all are. It is intended to be self-serviceable, and I'm happy to support anyone who wants to embrace the method. Executives often ask me about the impact of my work, and I sometimes respond, we can do magic together. Magic is simply science, discipline, and hard work. Are you up for that? But we cannot do wizardry because it's not real. The roadmap to transform a market-validated company into an outfit which is sustainably capital efficient and value-creating has 4 stages. Let's start with the end in mind and work backwards. The end is a steady state. We don't want to live in a world where we are perpetually solving incongruences. We want to mature the company into a system-led entity that proactively evolves to stay ahead of disruptions. I call these proactive transformational cycles macro evolutions. We also want to build lines of defense. Think about them as automation that allows the company to protect itself through governance, principles, and early detection and remediation. That's how we keep incongruences away and avoid falling back into suboptimal tendencies we all have. These lines of defense enable ongoing course corrections that I call microevolutions. The path to get there involves going through the decode and evolve stages. This is where the methodology works its magic. I can't do justice to unpacking those two stages here, so I will share more details in the Spiral Stairway primer, which I recommend you sign up for. This brings us to where we start, the baseline. I have created a complimentary do-it-yourself baseline toolkit because I strongly believe in the impact the Spiral Stairway method can have on any company. Some people like to fish, others like to play golf. I enjoy being an engineer who helps executives architect the best version of their company by minimizing incongruences and thus maximizing value creation, capital efficiency, and sustainability of positive outcomes. I cannot conceivably work with every company, so I want to help you self-serve. The baseline is the place to start. I can kick things off for you with the Spiral Stairway primer that's part of the baseline toolkit. The baseline stage only takes up a few hours of your work life, but it will clarify the level of congruence in your organization. Dear executives and board members, use this comprehensive, cohesive, and self-deployable toolkit to spotlight incongruences within your organizations. How you deal with that new information comes later, and you can choose. Even becoming the fittest human in the world starts with researching gym memberships and buying cool shoes, which is fun. So is the baseline stage. Educators and administrators around business school centers and incubators. I often hear the line, our startups are too early. The reality is that childhood experiences mold who we are as adults, and preventative care is far easier than remediation down the line. I have spent a lot of my career supergluing broken vases. In hindsight, maintaining an organized living room is a far better lesson to teach. So, as an immediate next step, find me and sign up for the Baseline Toolkit. It's free and designed to help you perform a company-level checkup quickly. If you know my contact, email me or call me, or connect and DM me on LinkedIn, or use the link on the screen to send me a message. I hope this was valuable and highlights a market problem we can all get behind and address at the companies we care about.